period of time that was Standing Rock. But it's kind of hard to understand that if you don't understand the days, the weeks, and what even feel like the years that led to this moment that was this picture that I'm still trying to figure out how I ended up in that picture. But I go, this epic moment, happy to be caught in. And then of all the epic moments I can think of in my life, I look around the room and what made that moment epic for me was being able to stand in a place where there's a passage in one of the pieces that is in here that is a Baha'i who is there that's reflecting on his experience there that sums up some of it. Everybody had a job to do. Everybody was valued because their efforts were needed. Into moments where my wife could probably better than I think at least on this point, reflect that sense of urgency that there was, and literally at times dozens of people standing around just waiting to be told what to do. I mean, literally. And there had to be this moment where somebody stepped up and said, you go do this, you go do this, you three go do that. And then what a blessing to be in a space where rarely, outside of big events like Canoe Journey, moments where community comes together that is the foundation of why I will always love places that have been like Brighton Creek, where you see these principles being acted out, that irregardless of where they're coming from in God's plan, it's moving forward. And to be in this blizzard that almost dying in it, don't know what my temperature was, but there was a point where after being warmed for an hour and a half, it got up to 94.7. Took a few more hours to get up to like 96. And then finally well enough to go, okay, you know what, there's people starting to come in that are worse off than I was, which even was a little invigorating. And yeah, you mentioned out of these bad things that good comes. This sense of where my health, I thought it was, and still have to go, here's markers to go, fragile health. And then not nearly as fragile as some guys that were half my age. That I reflected earlier that much after maybe just a couple of years after I'd become a Baha'i, in my head there was this thing when I was dealing with honorary people that seemed like they were a pain in my butt. I would think, well, it's not Mirza Yahya, so, you know, I got this. And if you don't know who Mirza Yahya is, and then go, well, you know what, if you're in that place with politics, we have people right now that I'm sure you could look to in politics to go, well, he's not that person, he could be worse. And then none of that even relevant, and maybe you would share as to like how you felt in the way that people were there, like when you fell and things like that. Just
well, no, it wasn't even that. It was when we even first got there. It was a Baha'i community. That's how I felt. I mean, it was, everybody was there to help you. And if they didn't know, they were running down the road to find out who they needed to find out from. It was, everybody worked together. It was just beautiful to see all these people working together. And it was so cold. I mean, even when we first got there, it was cold, but it wasn't a freezing thing. It was cold, but to see everybody working together, it was amazing to see. Because I was talking to Toby about, you know, we should have these communities where this one is a Baha'i community. All that live there is Baha'is. But we walked into this campground where all you see is teepees and tarpies and tents. But it was all just, everybody worked together. That was the most amazing thing. It was so nice to see. I've always wanted to see where everybody worked together. Everybody did, and I fell down, and it was like, people just, I was up on my feet faster than I fell down. But it was really, I really enjoyed, I'd do it all over again, even though we did get hypothermia. You know, we do it all over again.
But it was that moment, and grateful that that's where, you know, you kind of end your expression, because for me, there was a part of me going, I'm an idiot. Who takes their wife to Standing Rock when there's a veterans deployment to go and deal with domestic situation where you have multiple counties of police firing rubber bullets and water cannons and sound grenades and concussion grenades and CS canisters. And then that there was a moment there when we had elders that stepped up and recognized this in a way. Not because really of anything with me, because I mean, I'm a big guy anyway. I stand up, and at 380, 390, I stand out. Throw a big buffalo robe on me, another 150 pounds, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, who is that guy way over there? That it was neat to see her standing out in a way that the whole reason for men like me was because of women like her. And this elder, that it was love that he commented, because so many of our communities that were once matriarchal have shifted to patriarchal. And as much as I say matriarchal, it was a system of leadership that still had balance to it. And people I still tell, I'm chief because she lets me. And I would love to say that's a joke, but that's really what it comes down to, you know? And then grateful that in those epic moments where I'm standing there in this picture with a blizzard where the temperatures are hitting negative 21, that's who's standing next to me. And I survive a night where the temperatures are negative 30, wind chills of negative 50 plus, and you're going, I don't know where I'm at because I can't even form 3-word sentences because I'm so hypothermic that I'm in trouble. That's not something I say. I don't EMT background, I don't put myself in trouble. I'm smart enough to go, don't do that. And then when you see this thing that we saw that started with literally pulled in the gate and was welcome home. A diversity. I feel that I have been graced in my life with moments to go, I recognize home. I felt at home. Is home there as I do in this room right now? And then this moment up on the hill where the blizzard was at its worst, and we were clearing what was thousands of people off that road, that I wasn't worried about her because I knew she was safe because we were at home that way. And I knew that there were men, even to the point where this medic comes up, and in the crowd it's really cold, but you're protected because there's a crowd of hundreds and thousands of people around you behind you. And so the wind's not hitting as bad. For some of us that were out like in front, the full brunt of the wind was kind of hitting us. Grateful I had a buffalo robe. It's what saved me from hypothermia the first day or two. And then once she moved out of that crowd and people started to shift down because Arnold Lookinghorse, the spiritual leader there, decided we're not crossing the bridge because it could have created a conflict that weather would not have permitted for people to safely be evacuated if there were a repeat of the 2 Sundays before event with the water cannons and stuff. And so personally, I think a great decision, and it left to a day that still epic and no violence. As Gandhi-like, as Martin Luther King-like, as Baha'i-like, as I can express something should be. And then these things that I'm trying to, as I navigate this, go, bigger story. I don't know if I've ever felt I belong somewhere so much in my whole life as that moment on the hill where my talents and my ability to be able to go, I'm going to be loud, so I'm going to jump. Because people do that when I go. That's why I'm recording. There's those moments where, okay, so I won't be as loud, but literally that moment where it's, hey! And through a crisp, cold, below zero wind, that carries. That yea, there were a dozen other men like me that were there going, please, as much as we could beg, turn back. Because there were people that did not want to turn back. And they came there with purpose. Their own purpose that was beyond the agenda of what that camp was. And very grateful that as I had these moments that I knew my wife was safe, that as much as I worried about her and Kim, who also came with us, that didn't even hesitate. You know, conversations that we've had that talk about what it means to be kind, loving, radiant, to be truthful as a foundation of human virtue, to be just, what we call the big 5. You know, kind, loving, radiant, truthful, just. And these filters that I go, okay, book one, and yay, enough dialogue with her to go, okay, I know what that is, and then to know that with other people in the room, we know what that is. That with people who, regardless of that guidance and education, also knew that it allowed for us to push forward in a way that was a good way. That I find myself thinking of people and I go, well, thank you, Marion, for everything you've ever done for me or mine. That was this moment of strength that people need when you're afraid. And I would be the biggest chicken shit liar if I stood up and go, I went to Standing Rock and survived. No, I went to Standing Rock and barely survived. And I'm very grateful for this experience that all of it came back to service. And what can we do for others? And what can we do for our communities that are action steps? That if I understood that conference we went to downtown Tacoma, we now have a system in place to go, hey world, if all we're helping is God's minor plan, we still need your help. And everybody that as they turn to this guidance and education, that is that value system, the world will get better. So no matter how bad it looks, it's because we're kind of in the beginning, and beginnings are a rough spot. I think every great piece of literature that talks about those beginnings. And then for me, even having this moment where I have been lucky that 3 times in my life I've been given things that I don't know why they came to me. As a Baha'i, as a native, at times where things like eagle feathers have come to me, and I still got to question why, even if I know why. While they're presented with a small group of men who were the ones that were really the medics and the people who really helped to make that day a good day, we were presented eagle feathers by people that would have once amazed me, because it'd be like the Pope coming and going, hey, as a Christian, let me bestow my on you. That I got that in a way that was spades, that I then back to you in this training, that I go, thank you to the 7 Valleys and these conversations about people that go, I don't want to be a mullah either. And people that stood there to get that too. And how do we be of service in a way that we're taking the action steps and inspiring others and educating and inviting to this cause of God, whatever we call it, that is helping the world move forward. That I'm grateful to you, George, because it gives another opportunity to be of service in a way that I find myself always asking my wife, what else can we do? That the Buffalo Road, it was a gift from a son that is now on the back of a young girl for her puberty ceremony, that it found its way to a good place. Especially when I'm standing out there thinking, I really look good in this. And that was that moment I went, maybe I should give it away, because I'm feeling a little too good in it. And then grateful that the eagle feather that came through that went to the young man who provided the robe. And so this exchange of things that, yeah, he was letting his dad go as much as he was letting the robe go, because his dad's passed. Of things that will probably be buried with me, and there are only a small few of them. Of the 3 that are behind, one is petals from the garden there at Rizwan that I got at Brighton Creek at an event there that just mean a lot to me that way. And then next is a little pouch that has a pinch of dust from Fort DeBarcy in it. It probably means more to me than most of the things I have, because there's stories of what that was, that as an Apache, as a veteran, for somebody that thinks of themselves as a warrior, that has no problems going, you know what, just for the fun of it, you want to throw down right here, let's go. I got no problems with bloody lips, black eyes. I don't have a problem with conflict like that. And I think about what those stories about Fort DeBarcy are and why they would fight like that. And then grateful to not have to be able to stand there in a way. And then the other thing was then this, it's supposed to be one of those little urn things you put someone's dead ashes in, but the lady, and I'm not sure where she got it, but something about a dad, he had a contractor doing some work that he ended up with some dirt from there that is in here. But I found myself hanging on to this when there was that moment where I looked around, there was none of these nice faces. She was already gone, Kim was gone. Later I found out that they parked on this hill, that the wind was so strong. Your car's what, about 10,000 pounds? It literally took her whole car and from standing, pushed it off the side of the road, maybe 12 feet. That was the wind, and me and other grown men had to stand there and do this at times to hang on so we didn't get blown away. Back to the grateful for that buffalo rope. And these protections that as much as I felt protected physically, I didn't really have much fear. Because there was this thing that if this is that day, spiritually I know I'm in a good place. I'm ready to meet my maker. I'm ready to cross over with mom, dad, in-laws. Yes, my in-laws, I got along with them too. And then go glad, because if I had anything, I'd go, my wife, my kids, my community, those are the things we're fighting for now. Those are the things we're living for. If there's anything that I want to share on it as a reflection, it would be, we don't have to deal with Mirza Yayas today. We don't have to deal with standing rock conditions. We wake up, and I feel a sense of, and we would even go, would you express some of what we talked about? I mean, just taking a hot shower. I mean, can you talk about what some of those experiences were?
Just to come home and being able to take a hot shower. But I felt guilty. I got home and they're still there. And they can't take a hot shower. And even before we left, they were taking the porta potties because they were too frozen and they weren't going to replace them. So it was like, where are they going to go? And they were digging in that freezing weather. They were digging so they could have a place to use the restroom. But, you know, how long have they been there and not had a shower? And even just to keep your teepee or tarpee warm. And it only stays warm like 3 feet around this hot stove because it was so cold. But having to keep that going, we were shivering just to put wood in. But I do it all over again now. It was really life. It was a real experience.
Do you remember the moment when you decided to go to Standing Rock? Because, you know, we watch your Facebook, you know, we in this lovely Facebook community, it's like, it's in the back of our minds.
Here or something in 4 days.
Okay, so I guess it started with me because I come to love Facebook and found it a great way to socialize. And there was a post that came up, and I'd already been following, and I knew about KXL and when it turned into DAPL, and I've been following this for a couple of years, and there was a post that came up, and it was, I share a lot of stuff or like it just because it hits me right here. I'm that kind of person. And this post was, so, as a veteran, would you be willing to go to Standing Rock? Yes. I mean, literally, there was no. So, an hour later, over 2,000 veterans had responded to this post. That because I was like number 536, was one of the 2,000 that were received as deployed veterans that were part of a deployment that went there, where every name was taken, and probably another 3,000 to 7,000 people that showed up. But of the 2,000 who were there was a standing joke. We couldn't be part of the 300, so we had to create an event so we could be at least one of the 2,000. And you get the movie reference to 300. And then I think with her there was a moment, because for me initially it was, okay, I got to figure this out now, because it just went from theoretical to this is very real. And I had about 45 minutes to respond with who would be that group of people. Ironically, Kim called, and there was a moment where all I said was I was looking for a way to get there. Hadn't even talked about potentialities of buses or vans or anything. And this immediate, I'm down. Okay.
I texted you and said, I want to go to Standing Rock. That's all I said.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that literally instantaneous response. And by the time then filtered a few minutes later to Shan, there was already this ball ball rolling that was, well, you're not leaving me home. And then anybody that knows us well enough knows her well enough, so leaving her home, so. And then it just kind of built, and then so it started, okay, so who else? And her friend Lisa, who was like, okay, if we got a driver, I know Shan's got her back, I need someone to have your back, so Lisa, that's your job. And then yay, that I didn't have to worry about them at moments that I could do other things. Because for me, the first moment of why I want to go is why I want to go back. Or why almost an immediate, how do I share, try to figure out as I look to these faces to go, you know what? Yay for faces that I just met there that I'll know for the rest of my life. Yay for faces that I met that are my Baha'i friends that I'll know for the rest of my life. That I know we're doing the same thing, whatever we call it. I mean, I don't even have words to express my gratitude because it's the Baha'i writings, it's those teachings, it's this sense of community that allowed for me to go to Standing Rock and even have a job there. I mean, literally, it's the writings and things that for me have become a foundation. That there's a moment that she's trying, later as we were talking about things that happened, she's like, I don't know, I was standing outside and like this whole rush of people just came barging out of the army tank. And then neat to hear her side of it and then go, well, kind of, okay, that was my fault because I did one of those loud things and got tired of people arguing and as quickly as I could defined consultation and went, who's leadership? Because I need to have consultation. Because I have a group of about 350 vets following me that will be here in a few hours, and I need information. So if you're not in here, get out! And literally, it was like this exodus across the Red Sea.
Well, you left us sitting in the car for what, about a half hour?
A long time. Yeah.
So just went to find it.
Well, then yay for people that are supported that way, because there were times where we didn't know what was happening and you get caught in the moment. And time goes by. It's the one thing that even thank yous for being here, for sharing time, because once it's gone, you don't get it back. And then grateful for them to be willing to sit in the car and even to venture out. And then grateful they didn't come in because they would have been part of this discourse and this conflict that wasn't looking for a gem of truth. And once somebody put up a question that said, what is that gem we're looking for? It redirected that in a way that I'm grateful for a few years on the assembly to go, hold on, don't tell me people can't get together without it turning into this argument. As I pushed that way, it was neat to be recognized, and then go anything I was recognized had nothing to do with me. It was things that I'm trying to do to be a good Baha'i, good human being, so when I cross over, I can go, I'm here and I can hold a count. I did it each day. I got it right now. And then I guess if there's like a thing that, you know, everyone's, well, you close. But for me, if there's anything I wanted to share, we're not in Standing Rock, we're in Tacoma. And what they charged those of us that were there to go home and do was come home and create a Standing Rock at home. Because there's a lot of things at home to do. The largest gathering of the 7 bands of the Lakota peoples in 150 years, coupled with the largest group of Native Americans ever gathering in history, coupled with the largest gathering outside of the United Nations of countries, made me proud of those epic moments and pictures that got caught, to be a part of that. And then to come home and go, how do we do that here? Because their stories of this woman who wouldn't leave home. And when the rest of the community realized how wrong they were to leave her behind, they went back. And this promised to never leave home again. That whether you came to Tacoma like me or your people that were born here, grateful for families that I know for a long time have called this home and done their job to make this their Standing Rock as Baha'is. To create these things that when people go, hold on, white people, hold on. I know white people. I know a lot of white people now. And don't talk about my friends like that. These things that I'm grateful to go, and I've got other friends that are of other colors in the space that I'm in and hold. It's about keeping it safe and sacred so she can do her thing and we can do our thing together. And And then hopefully I can figure out how to do that more, because there's people and movements here, whether it's the junior youth program, devotionals, children's club. There's no end of things that we need to do here. We've got to figure out how to do our part, just like we did there. And then grateful to see other people and other things here in Tacoma go, you know, it is about social justice, and how do we apply these things that, if justice is the most beloved of God, how do we create that here in our own town and make that standing rock here?